This was our first trip to the Gunnison this year. We always go to the area below the forks on the main stem of the river. Getting up through there is like Humphrey Bogart and the African Queen. The river's also running about 2 feet high and extremely muddy, so I started out with a nymph rig. Had a black stone to take it to the bottom and a little scud out the back. This fish ended up taking the scud. It wasn't very successful. We had some caddis and yellow sellies in the air. Not much stuff going on the surface, but at least this is a fish. Unfortunately, the temperature is about 95 degrees in the middle of the day, and we can't really get out in the river and do any wading. It's just too deep. It's probably 2 feet over where we normally would fish it. But we switched flies around a little bit, did some working with caddis, both hair wing and flat wing, and also some yellow Sally sized and stimulator sized, and did have success. It took a lot of work, but we were catching fish pretty well. Most of the range were 14 to 16 inches, which is certainly decent. The fish we caught really weren't great, but they weren't awful either. Under normal conditions, this would be a successful trip, but the combination of too much heat and not enough ability to wade made it less fun for us, but a lot of fun for the dog. We were able to camp in our favorite spot under a gigantic cottonwood keef, which Sue is pointing out. The next morning, we drove all the way over the hill down to the Black Canyon stem and did a little bit of fishing here. Again, it's very hot late in the morning, and it just wasn't a heck of a lot of fun. I did catch some nice fish here. I found a couple in a edge of a riffle, which is maybe a foot deep. These fish are a little bit bigger too. Both of them were fine, and it was fun being there. But boy, the darn air temperatures were awful, and when you can't get in the water to cool yourself down, it's a difficult thing. For a super hot night of camping under this nice spreading cottonwood tree, we decided to give it up. It was just too darn hot. That's a place where you can see where the fish are lying along these banks. Browns are bankers. The rainbows are not particularly so, but we saw no rainbows at all. I think we're going to have to go to a higher elevation place next week to try to get out of this darn heat that we're having. Once we can wade, we'll be happy to go down there again. But we may go back to southern Colorado and try to catch some fish up at higher elevations. And we know there are some rainbows up there too. So let's see what happens. It's goofy to call this kind of trip a bust, where we caught some very nice fish, but it really wasn't as much fun as we had hoped it would be. So let's see what goes.